The morning rush had just begun at the small airport cafe when Olivia Harper tied her apron and took a slow breath. Her hands were rough from scrubbing, her back ached from double shifts, but there was no time to rest. The scent of roasted coffee wrapped around her like a quiet lullaby as she moved behind the counter. It was 7:42 a.m. The world outside hurried past, but Olivia's focus was simple: survive the day. For nearly 3 years, this job had kept food on the table and rent paid for the tiny apartment she shared with her 5-year-old son, Jamie. He was her everything, her reason to wake up when life felt too heavy. "Large cappuccino, no sugar," called a voice. She smiled automatically, already pouring. It was muscle memory, but when she lifted her gaze, her whole body froze. Across the terminal, near gate 18, a man sat with a laptop open, a black duffel bag beside him. Lucas Bennett. Her heart skipped, then thundered. 10 years. Yet she'd have known him anywhere. The same sharp jaw, the same calm focus. Once, he'd been the boy who walked her home in the rain, who read her poetry in a fake British accent, who made her believe dreams could be real. He had been the whole sky of her youth. She turned away fast, pretending to clean. Her messy bun, the wrinkled uniform, the coffee stain on her apron. She didn't want him to see her like this. What would he think now? She was just a tired waitress and a single mom barely holding on. But fate had its own timing. When an elderly man nearby dropped his tote bag, Olivia didn't hesitate. She knelt, helped him gather his things, and when she looked up, her eyes met Lucas's. Time stopped. Lucas stared, breath caught. 10 years gone, but those eyes, he'd carried their memory through every success, every lonely night. The face of the girl he'd loved, still familiar, though now lined with quiet strength. "Olivia," he whispered, almost to himself. But she stood quickly, handed the man his bag, and walked away, hands trembling. Lucas sat frozen, memories flooding back, laughter under streetlights, the summer they'd spent dreaming, the pain of leaving without goodbye. He'd gone abroad on a scholarship, promising to write, but life had pulled him forward. And she had been left behind. Now here she was again. Minutes later, he walked into the cafe. Olivia looked up and their eyes met once more. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi, could we talk? Just a minute." She hesitated, then nodded. "I'm on break in 10. They sat by the window, the terminal's noise fading into the background. "It's really been 10 years, he said. "It has." He studied her quietly. She looked older, yes, but stronger. Life had tested her and she'd survived. "How have you been?" "I have a son," she said finally. "Jamie. He's 5. It's just us." Lucas blinked. "You're a mom." She nodded. "Yeah, I work here mornings, clean offices at night. It's not easy, but we manage." There was no bitterness in her voice, just acceptance. "You're still the strongest person I know," he murmured. Before she could respond, she saw another old man stumble near the boarding gate. She was up instantly, helping him, even offering half her sandwich. Lucas watched from their table, realizing she hadn't changed. She still gave even when she had little left. When his flight was called, Lucas stood reluctantly. "Can I give you my card? Just in case." She took it wordlessly, tucking it away. But he couldn't forget her. Days later, Olivia's landlord knocked, face cold. "You're behind again. Out by tomorrow." She begged, but he wouldn't listen. That night, she sat on the edge of her bed as Jamie slept, tears streaking down her cheeks. Then her phone buzzed. "Lucas Bennett. Are you okay? I can't stop thinking about you. And Jamie." She stared at the message for a long time before replying. The next morning, she and Jamie stood on the sidewalk with one small suitcase. When a black SUV pulled up and Lucas stepped out, she nearly broke down. "Come stay with me," he said gently. "Just for a few days. You and Jamie." "Lucas, I can't. I'm not offering charity. Just help." She looked at Jamie, then nodded. "Just for a few days." Lucas's house was warm and modern, sunlight spilling through tall windows, a world she'd never known. Out of habit, she rose before dawn and began cooking breakfast. Lucas came downstairs surprised. "You didn't have to." "I know. Jaime's just used to it." He smiled. "It smells better than anything I've made in months." Over the next days, he saw how she moved through life, gentle, steady, endlessly kind. How she read stories to Jamie with voices and sound effects that made him laugh until he hiccuped. He quietly made space for them. Children's books on a new shelf, almond milk in the fridge, her favorite tea waiting by the kettle. He didn't mention it, he just did it. Then one night, Jamie fell ill. Fever high, Olivia panicked. Lucas stayed with them all night. Cold cloths, calls to the doctor, quiet reassurance. We'll take care of him, together. When dawn came and the fever broke, Olivia whispered, "Thank you, for being here when I couldn't breathe." Lucas looked at her, tired, hair messy, eyes full of love, and realized he still loved her. Maybe he always had. A week later, they went for a picnic. Jamie ran ahead chasing leaves, Olivia's laughter soft and free in the autumn air. When Jamie handed Lucas a crayon drawing, 3 stick figures labeled Mommy, Me, and My CEO Dad, Olivia blushed, taking it back quickly. "He just thinks it sounds cool," she murmured. But she didn't throw it away. That night, as Jamie slept, Lucas sat across from her in the kitchen. "You're capable, Olivia, you're smart. You'd be amazing at my company." "I could." She stopped him gently. "I can't take that, Lucas. I need to stand on my own. Even if it's hard." He respected that. It made him love her even more. Later, he found her still awake, staring out the window. "I've dated others," he said quietly. "But it never felt real. Not like with you. I haven't loved anyone since." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm not the same girl you left. I'm tired, Lucas. I've been lied to, broken, left alone. When I look at you, it feels safe again, and that terrifies me." She walked away softly, leaving him in silence. The days that followed were quiet, gentle. He didn't push. He just stayed. Making tea, helping with homework, showing up. Olivia began to laugh again. Hope crept back in, until the knock on the door. Standing there was Derek, Jaime's biological father. Her blood ran cold. "What do you want?" "I've changed," he said. "I just want to see my son." "You don't get to walk back in," she whispered. "He deserves to know me," Derek snapped. Lucas's voice drifted from the kitchen, and Olivia stepped outside, closing the door. "He doesn't know you. He doesn't need to." Derek's tone softened. "Think about it." Then he walked away, leaving her trembling on the porch. The peace she'd built suddenly felt fragile. Days later, the texts began. "You owe me a chance. 100 grand should cover it. Get it from your rich boyfriend. If you don't, I'll go to court." Her stomach twisted every time the phone buzzed. She couldn't tell Lucas, not when he'd finally brought light into her life. So she stayed quiet, terrified. Finally, one night, she packed a bag, wrote a letter, and left. "Lucas, I'm sorry. Please don't look for us. I have to protect Jamie. Thank you for everything." When Lucas woke and found the note, the house felt like a ghost. He drove through the snow all night. Stations, shelters, anywhere she might be. And then, at dawn, he saw her. Sitting on a bench, holding Jamie close, her coat dusted with snow. He dropped to his knees before her. "Why did you leave?" "He threatened to take Jamie," she whispered. "I couldn't let him. I didn't want you dragged into it." "You were never dragging me," he said softly. "You and Jamie are my life now. Let me protect you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I was scared. So am I," he said. "But I love you. I love both of you." She broke then, letting herself believe it. That morning, Lucas called his lawyer. Derek's threats became evidence. By noon, legal action was underway. For the first time in years, Olivia wasn't alone in the fight. That night, she sat beside Lucas, head resting on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to thank me for loving you," he replied. She smiled through tears. "I'm still scared. So am I. But I'm not leaving." And she believed him. A year later, sunlight filled the garden behind Lucas's home. White flowers framed the aisle, fairy lights swayed gently in the breeze. At the top stood Jamie in a tiny gray suit, holding Olivia's hand. "Ready, Mommy?" She smiled through tears. "Ready." As they walked, Olivia saw only one face. Lucas, waiting beneath an arch of flowers, eyes shining. "Here she is, Dad," Jamie called proudly, making everyone laugh. The ceremony was small and full of love. I don't just choose you, Lucas said in his vows. I choose every part of your journey. I choose Jamie. I choose our family. Today, tomorrow, always. When the officiant said, husband and wife, the garden erupted in applause. Jamie ran to them shouting, group hug. And they all laughed through tears. That night, under twinkling lights, Olivia whispered, this doesn't feel real. Lucas smiled, it's real. And it's only the beginning. As they walked toward their home, Jaime's small hand in theirs, the door opened, light spilling across the floor, warm and golden. After years of loss and loneliness, they were finally home. Because sometimes, life gives you a second chance at the very love you thought you'd lost forever.